Whether it's listening to their stories, learning from their lived experiences, or simply spending time in the kitchen, our grandparents guide us as pillars of understanding our culture. Come alongside us as we connect with Punjabi families in Surrey BC to learn how they honor their roots and create intergenerational connections. Today, we'll see how GenConnect, a local group of Punjabi youth, are helping take care of seniors' mental health in the community. Our grandparents' shadows. Sadisyananda Prashama.
So my name is Simranjeet Gill, and my role in GenConnect is the Director of Senior Engagement and Lead Interpreter. And I've been with GenConnect since the beginning, since I'm one of the co-founders, so about 2020.
So my name is Manpreet, and I'm one of the co-founders of GenConnect, and I've been with GenConnect since when we started, so that was 2020.
My name is Gusharan Brar, and I have been with GenConnect since April 2022, and I met Simran in math class, and she was like, we're having an event, do you want to come on the event? And I was like, okay, let's go check it out.
And just to go in what GenConnect is and the how and the why. So we started off as 3 or 4 youth, and that's when we met Justin and we got to be a part of this space called Solid State. And before that, the original cost to us starting was through it was especially during COVID-19, where we saw how us as youth felt so isolated. And even though we have access to our phones and tech, and we can go on our phones, we have that source of engagement that I guess seniors don't have.
Because the pandemic mainly shut down the parks, because the parks were so empty, all of a sudden it kind of gave us the realization that they are isolated. Isolation in the Punjabi community runs from generations at this point. In Punjab, in India, it's a lot different because the seniors gather around and, they talk to one another, they play cards, they do boliyan, different ways of connecting with one another. Where when they immigrated here, we don't have anything like that. Of course, we have senior centers, but they're also restrictive. And also during COVID, there was guidelines preventing anyone from coming in or going out just to prevent COVID from spreading. So when we kind of took on, the initiative, in our heads, we just thought that we're bringing seniors together through technology. We were not focusing on the fact that they just want to talk. And once we started talking to them, we realized that the isolation has always been there, never addressed. And at many times, the seniors, some of them didn't even know that that counts as isolation, because there's a stigma in our community as well, where isolation or mental health, that's not really addressed. So for them, when we said, talk to them about regular things, they were like, "Mere na to koi edda gal karda nahi," no one in their house, no one outside, is because they haven't built that connection. So when we kind of looked at an overview, we kind of had to come to the realization that it is a problem, because we kind of knew about it, but at the same time we didn't, because we always overlooked it and kind of had our own lives to focus on. So that's when we kind of realized it is a problem in our community.
And so noting those language barriers and the isolation and the impact on the mental health, that led us to start this organization where we foster and create intergenerational connections between youth and seniors.
We saw the isolation mainly in our seniors, and we wanted to focus on the seniors in the Punjabi community. So what we started doing is we started with the idea of GenTech. GenTech's idea was basically to teach seniors technology. And through that entire process, we just thought that once seniors know technology, they can interact with their grandchildren, their children, and back in India or anywhere around the world. And when we kind of took that initiative, we started doing online workshops, calling seniors, and we kind of a little test group of seniors that were kind of in our own network. And then we realized that once we kind of grew out of our own network, the main thing seniors were focusing on were the connections we were building. Anytime we picked up the phone, the first thing would do sat shri akal pota, tu theek hai, mummy daddy kare ya, oh theek ya, they'll ask about the entire family, and this is a stranger to stranger at the end of the day. And they were confiding with us and wanting to know more about us and our families. And at the end of the day, the technology kind of became an excuse. We would try to switch the focus back to technology. We would ask them, what would they want to learn? How can we help interact with rest of their families, rest of, the community in a sense? And, we'd have that short little conversation, but somehow we ended up back to a personal question, whether it was about our community or ourselves. So the more we kind of talked, the more we realized that our initiative is not technology no more. Even when we talk to them, we start talking to them about previous conversations we had instead of technology. So that's when we kind of switched the entire focus to GenConnect.
And I think overall, like, our overarching issue that we addressed in this whole thing is like that to bridge that connection between youth and seniors that we see is like separating, like for a number of reasons. Like we see like the lack of like language is a big one, I think, especially between like the future generation, and especially like alongside we build that community and that connection and like fostering that growth for like not only seniors but also the youth.
Tell me, what was your favorite event or memory with GenConnect?
I think one of my favorite events is Apna Mila.
Apna Mela. Okay, we had our first one in 2020, and we were thinking about ideas of what events to host, and we kind of made like a list, and we had like fashion show, we had like different ways to showcase like Sikh heritage, the Punjabi community, and we just thought of like carnival. And we're like, that's a way where a lot of seniors and youth in India got together. It was kind of like a different way for the community to come together, have fun, showcase like different events going on, little booths.
We had like a water balloon toss and like everyone playing those games and the juggle race, and like how like keen the seniors were on like, oh my god, we want to play, and like the prizes and everything. So I think that engagement and like how everybody was so positive in the culture was just so nice to see.
In the first year in 2020, we hosted in August in Strawberry Hill. We kind of were breaking it down step by step, spreading out the tasks. And one day we went and sat in Strawberry Hill, and we were just brainstorming how are we going to put the tent, everything. And we did a little bit networking before that. We were telling like seniors to come to our event. We were sitting on the ground with a chadar, just a small little chadar on the ground on top of it. And auntie comes to us, starts telling us about our own event. And it was the most funniest yet cutest moment ever. Like a senior, she just came and she's like, "Tanu pata hai? Itthe na shaniwar nu ki hona hai?" And we're just like nodding. We're like, like we didn't even know who she was, no context, didn't even recognize her. Maybe we were like, maybe we networked to her. We did not even recognize her. She tells us about our own event, and then tells us, let others know too. She's like, when I was walking, I just told like 5-6 more bibiyan. And she's telling us how she's advertising her event. And it was funny because it was the first big proper event we were going to have. We were so nervous. We were sitting there on the chadar thinking, what if no one shows up?
We were so uncertain if anybody was going to show up. Like, I remember half an hour before the event, we were like, I don't think anyone's going to show up.
Besti in our households. Like, this is going to be the biggest besti of our lives. And she kind of said that to us, and we're like, you know what? If no one else shows up, at least the aunties will. Like, at least the group of aunties she told will. And they were all in the area, and she's like, I'm going to have a friend group coming in a little bit. I'm going to tell them as well. And she's just super excited about it. And that was kind of like the motivational like booster for us. We're like, okay, we did good.
It was really cool because we had like such a good outcome. And I think the memories that everyone made was really nice.
The focus of it was to make seniors feel like their childhood again. We had games that they would play when they were children, games that would get everyone, like even youth, like musical chairs, like balloon toss, like joggo race, like making these separate races in order to get both of them together. And our like main like concern was always like, what if in the joggo race the BB falls? Like, it's gonna be no. We said, we'll make it walking, no liability, nothing. We can do a walking joggle race. But no, they ran. They got the adrenaline that was in them, made them ran. And I remember that was our first year I saw my own nanny run, where she was like, she got her knees replaced, both of them. Good day at the surgery. She did not hold back. I have that video of her just running, and it's like always stuck in my head. And I'm like, damn, like I would not have seen my nanny ever run. But the fact that other aunties were running made her run. And it's like that, like, adrenaline was not just, like, within her anymore. It was within everyone there. Mm-hmm. So then, because it was everyone there, they're just running and running. Like, it's like, at the end of the day, we said there was a prize, but not everyone was getting a prize. They were still competing, like, menu want a trophy milni hai. That's it. I'm going to be, like, named as Surrey's fastest runner in the juggle race. Like, it was just going on, like, for them. And And it's like one of those things where every year we've incorporated the Joggo race because we know it's always a success. We were expecting 50 seniors. And like we named it Apna Mela because it literally is Apna Mela. It's not a Mela where it's like hosted by GenConnect and it goes on. It's Apna Mela because the community comes together and makes it a Mela. We could do all the planning, but nothing would matter if the community did not come and did not make it the way it always turns out, which is always amazing. It's like all the stress, all the nervousness, everything is always worth it at the end once you see those seniors smile.
And adding to that, like adding to the Apna Mela part, now we even have in recent years where some businesses and community members also come and put their own stalls up, either advertising their business or handing out free samples, or even we last year we had a showcase of suits, so that was also nice. It was just getting more inclusive and growing every year.
And, you know, like things always work out in the end because our community is so responding in positive like affirmations for us, where we're just like keep going only because of their support. So Apna Mela is literally only possible because Sadi community on the
100%. And like even speaking on that of seeing the joy on the senior's face, like of course you're contributing a lot to their mental health. So how does that kind of make you feel to know that like you're creating such a positive moment in someone's life?
This is the tears start. I feel like this is not like it, even though like, you know, we do GenConnect, we've been doing GenConnect for the past 4 years. Like whenever we host an event, we always think, will a senior like it? Will the senior enjoy it? What would we want if we were the senior? We think of their perspective and we go forward with everything. Apna Mela, we know that they're their children's self. They don't like hold back because they know that what we do is for them. Because there's already so many organizations, so many events, after school things, that extracurricular that are for youth. They know they don't have the same availability where they can go and join whatever club they want, because first of all, there's not many out there. Second of all, they're always restricted of their grandchildren having to take care of someone or having to take care of one another, right? Because isolation sometimes like breaks them apart from the community, where they're just taking care of their husband, their partner, husband or wife, they're taking care of them and they don't get to go and do that. So when we go host these events, we just think like what we're doing today is just for everyone to have fun. Like we could lose hair from stress, like that's okay, because we don't think about ourselves in the moment, we just think about them, and we see that they're expressing their mental health in different ways. Sometimes there's silence, sometimes it's them getting mad at us, sometimes it's getting sad, sometimes it's getting happy. Different ways they show us how their mental health is. And during Apna Mela, what we notice is that even if they are going through something and they will share it before the event with us, throughout the event, they just keep smiling, laughing, because they're not just talking to us, they're not just participating in the event, the games we're hosting, they're talking to one another. That's where the isolation piece is slowly disappearing, because they're putting themselves out there. And once they like know about one another, even if they don't have time to see each other outside on their personal lives, during GenConnect events or workshops or trips, they start looking for those people they made a connection with. And that's when you realize that slowly, piece by piece, that portion of their mental health that they've been holding on to, that is traumatic for them, they slowly open up to either us or each other. And that's when you realize that small piece that could literally change a person's life is being changed over like one smile. That's like you kind of figure out like that one smile holds so much more power than a one teardrop. Because you can shed as many tears as you want, but that one happiness you have in that moment is going to destroy all of those sadnesses.
My grandparents, they're always like usually at all the GenConnect events, so it's really cool. And it's actually so nice to see them engage with like different seniors. Like for example, my grandpa, he's a funny person. Like he isn't very like outgoing, I would say. Like if we tell him like go somewhere like that, he's gonna be like, oh, like whatever, what's the need, etc. So it's like really nice to see like my grandparents like engage with other seniors and kind of build that connection. But most importantly, I think like all together, seeing like any seniors just like connect and like really have fun, it's like really nice to see, especially because I feel like seniors are so isolated at times and they don't have those like support networks to like connect with. And the other thing I want to add is like sometimes it just allows this like piece of reflection that like seniors have lived like their whole lives, and they have so much to give back and like kind of bring and like for us to learn that we don't know about from their experiences. So it kind of really allows like this piece of reflection there too.
Tell me a little bit more about your role as someone who does, the media and filmmaking. How does it make you feel, and why are you so interested in pursuing it?
For me, it's just I really like it at the end when the video comes together, and then it creates the memory that's supposed to be in the mind in actual, like a physical state, and then you can also always refer to it and then feel like what you were feeling in that moment, and then what things you learned in that moment, and it's just like, it's like a time capsule. It captures your emotions, captures your feelings, and the events going on.
Yeah, and like, especially for seniors, they don't really have smartphones. I mean, some of them do, but all of them don't. So do you feel like the videos you make, it's a good way for them to be able to kind of look back on the trips you've taken?
Yeah, I think so, because a lot of the seniors also don't have good memory, so when they look at the videos, even when I was growing up, I always liked making videos of random trips me and my family did, and I always remembered how everyone used to just keep watching them and liked how the whole thing turned out. So I just took that and then put it towards the event. So now whenever the seniors watch it, they're feeling the same thing my family used to feel, of how much fun they had during the event, and how much and what they were feeling, and then all the things they did during that day too.
So what is something you would say that you maybe taught a senior, or something you've learned from a senior?
I think one of the things that I've taught a senior, this is not really like a skill or anything, but when we went to our recent like Abbotsford Heritage trip, we were doing like it was like this metal stencil art, and I think it was really cool because I got to teach seniors how to do that, like that craft, and like kind of seeing them engage in such like an artsy activity, because I feel like it's not common to see seniors be engaged in something like that, especially like brown Punjabi seniors, because to them that might not be that like. And I think that was like really cool to like teach them and see their actual like really cool creativity and design. So that was really cool. And then something that I think I've learned is like, I think I've learned like how to make jaw, how to like sew everything like from my grandma, so which is really nice. And like cleaning everything, like my grandma's always been like on it for about that, so that's really nice as well.
And I think I like what you said about the art activity, because sometimes we can forget that seniors are more than just seniors. Like they did live such a big life. And they have so many skills, and all of our like traditional things in Punjabi culture, they started that, or like they did that from such an early age.
And I think just to add on to that, like it brings me back to like my grandma. Whenever we go to India, or even we have some stuff here, like she shows us like pillows that she's like sewn, or actual like dariyan. They're like these like charts that she's actually like done herself, and it kind of shows like they actually were so creative with all those designs, and like it kind of gives them that opportunity to like rebuild that again.
What they do is not just like current, it's like from our childhoods. Like I remember staying home with my dada dadi when my parents were at work. Like an impact of a senior has been there since day one. I feel like in different ways and shapes and forms, like they've been embedded in my own life, where I feel like they kind of have been teaching me since the day I was born. Like without a lot of stories that come from seniors, your parents don't know. Because eventually, like wisdom, they learn, they go through it, they experience, and then they pass it down generations. They try passing as much to their children and then their grandchildren. So I feel like everything I kind of know, like whether it's like about my heritage, whether it's about my community, whether it's about like me as a person, a lot of them comes from the influences of seniors. The Senior Advisory Committee was created for the purpose of having seniors give us feedback. They come to our events, like a lot of them will give us feedback in the moment. They will let us know, like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's never like strict criticism. Where the senior committee, we have a group of seniors, mix of male and females, that give us like solid feedback. They're like, okay, you guys messed up here, this is what you should do. Or if you're hosting this event, we will support you in this way possible. A lot of seniors that are in the senior committee know a lot about like the Gurdwaras here. They know the committee members, they know what the history about it, they know how everything around us like kind of was created, even though they were not immigrant at that time. They all come from like different backgrounds, like in a sense of their own story. Like everyone comes in a different portion of Punjab. Because Punjab is divided based on rivers, different portions of Punjab bring different stories, and then as an individual you bring different stories. So one thing that's like really that we're able to showcase through the senior committee is every individual's different story. They come from different portions of Punjab, they immigrated, they have different immigration stories, they have different stories of growing up in Punjab, and also, you know, maintaining a life in Surrey. And the senior committee is able to showcase like individual stories, their own skills. That's like the main thing. Each individual brings on different levels of skills that we can use, and we try using it the best way possible. And like, it's like a small little family for us. Like, we talk to them about, like, of course, professional things. Like, I remember the first meeting we had, we probably spent a solid hour just on introductions, because they realized how many things have in common with each other. And then after that, we went to the professional portion. So it's like a nice balance. Like, you joke around like a family does, but then you also get strict to business.
So, Manpreet, talk a little bit about some mental health challenges a youth might face versus a senior might face.
I think, like, as youth, like, we see different problems and different things, and then seniors, they might face, like, different isolation, different problems. I think, like, at times, I feel like youth, like, we overlook our problems in a way. It's, like, I feel like sometimes, like, we're affected in a different way that seniors are affected in a different way. I think it really plays a really big impact on, like, the environment an individual is. Like, for example, if, like, there's a youth that's in very, like, a very competitive, and like especially in high schools these days, like the environment that a child is in, like it plays such a big impact. Like self-doubt, I know, is like really big, versus like for seniors, like maybe it's isolation, or like they feel like this like loss in like heritage, especially because like when seniors come from like other parts of the world and they're immigrating, like they feel like they're losing that connection with like back home. So I feel like there's like these different aspects that, and it really depends on the environment and setting that somebody comes from.
When it comes to youth, I feel like, you know, growing up in a immigrant household is challenging, because you see your parents working very hard. And even though sometimes they think they are protecting us from it, in different ways it still does reach the child. So for youth, a lot of the patterns that we've noticed either in ourselves or in our friend groups or in the community in general is that as much as immigrant households thinks they are protecting us, they are actually affecting us more than they know. And when it comes to certain issues, whether it's an argument or making ends meet, or, you know, talking about traumatic things for them, even though they think that the child is not listening, it hears it all. So when they kind of pretend like you didn't hear it, it ends up affecting them a lot more if the parents knew that the child is hearing. So I feel like that's where it comes, like, mental health kind of like starts, is that's when it starts getting affected, because parents don't realize how exactly they're affecting their youth until the damage is kind of done. And then when they go out in the community, like different challenges and like school, like academic pressure, peer pressure from other people, like some people trying to influence you with substances, like different things start to affect your mental health. And sometimes you end up using those methods as a coping method because you don't realize what you're going through. So even though like mental health is kind of getting light, at the same time it's been a problem for ages and generations. And now that we kind of like named it, like, okay, this is your mental health, and what you're supposed to do with is in your control, like it's not fully understandable for a lot of youth, because they still are figuring out what is mental health.
And like our parents grew up with everyone's doors being open in Punjab, and our grandparents grew up with the same, and they even spent their lives like that. And then coming here in Canada, where everyone has their doors closed and everyone's isolated and independent, and so like they're supporting themselves, it's also like a culture shock in a way.
And I think the main like problem more likely is like you don't know how to connect. That's the main issue. A lot of like seniors, because they're, you know, isolated, you don't really see them except when they're cooking for you, when they're taking care of you. Like a lot of us grew up with our seniors, our grandparents taking care of us. So when we were so focused on them doing that, we were doing our own thing. All of a sudden that connection we had only was like food, or remember when she took care of me, or this. It's also like, it's always like actions of taking care. And then when you're trying to build that connection after years of not having it, like restoring it is also hard, because all of a sudden you're like, well, they have this mindset of always taking care of me. How do I talk to them where it's not about me, right? And sometimes, you know, a youth can start conversation about a story, like what happened when you were married, or, you know, how did you immigrate here? Sometimes they don't know how to format the question, where it either could be triggering for the senior, where they might lash out or express sadness, and a youth might not know how to handle it, or they'll just get kind of like shut off themselves because they're like, why am I here? Like, they forget the purpose of why they're talking to the senior. Because, like, in a sense, like, now everything you kind of do, or in a society, everything goes on a go, go, go. You only do things that either benefit you or someone around you. So sometimes when you're just trying to have two words with it, or, you know, anyone in general, especially a senior, you sometimes forget why. And that's what, like, affects the relationship between a senior connecting with a youth, or vice versa. Because the conversation starters are not there anymore. Now that we have like a big network, we kind of like have inner jokes too. If I have a sutada joke with one uncle, another uncle's gonna jump right in, right? And then an auntie will jump right in. Like, it's not like limited where it's like I have to talk to like a male senior about something, only female. They mix around. You know, they consider each other like their brothers and sisters, and they start considering us like their grandchildren. Where it's like they'll get offended if you don't call them. like I had a couple of seniors that went to India, and they're just like, you just forget about us. Like, that's it. Like, and it's some of them, like husband wives that come, they're like, auntie's always asking like, Simran phone nahi kardi, and then they're just like, oh, but part of the year, right? And they feel bad for wanting to reach out because of the schedule. And it's like, then it makes you feel bad too. It's like, okay, maybe I should have like maybe 5-10 minutes. I'll just give a group call to everyone in the network. And, you know, even though there's too many seniors, but at least the effort's there. So I don't think it's hard connecting with them, but I think it's the attitude and time constraint, yeah.
And so how would you say GenConnect is kind of helping seniors with their mental health?
I think how we help combat that issue is kind of through, like, we bring the community together and we build that space for that engagement. Because I feel like seniors, like, yes, they have like those community networks and like parks and stuff, but we allow them to open up to different environments and different experiences. For example, like our trip to Baldi, for instance, like a lot of seniors never been to like on a ferry before, and it was so cool to see like seniors like, oh my god, like just like such a nice, like all this happiness inside of them. And like I remember a lot of seniors coming up to us like, hey, like this is such a good project, like make sure you guys keep doing this stuff. So I think that also allows like lots of appreciation that like we are doing the right thing, and especially like those different experiences like that they haven't experience opens up that window for them as well. Because I think like with seniors, like they've experienced such like from no tech to like all these technological advancements, that it's something definitely that is like a different way for them to explore and also like get their mind off of things and like allow them to like have those spaces to interact with others. Like for me, like all my younger siblings, like my grandpa, like from even when I was younger, like my grandpa's always been taking us to all our practices, all our games, and like my grandma usually does all the cooking and stuff. So like it's like I feel like the grandparents are kind of like the ones that really raise the kids. Like I know when I was younger, like I was with my grandparents like for a while, and like it's crazy to learn back from like stories you have to tell, like, oh, when you were younger, like you did this and that and stuff like that, right? And it's just really nice to see that. But I would say the 100% grandparents have a really big role, especially if like they're all in the same household. And I think that's a really nice way if that connection does work out, because there's so much space for growth and like that connection that like you aren't able to get, well, like maybe with parents, but you're able to get that extra set of connection.
Give some advice to another youth who might be wanting to connect to a senior in their life, or, you know, maybe some advice on mental health.
Just go to your local park, start talking to your seniors.
Feel like, yeah, a lot of seniors, that's what they do. They will go to the park. Some of them who have grandchildren, they will bring them. Some of them have pets. Family pets, they will bring them along, or they will just take a stroll in the walk. I think if you don't have anyone in your own life and you are trying to connect, the best thing to do would probably just go to a local park. And honestly, like connecting with us too, like we provide volunteer opportunities as well, and you can be a part of our events. You don't have to volunteer. You could just sit, test out an event, see what the community we built, what is our network like. And then a simple conversation starter is always like such a in a way, like if you want to connect with like just like your own community, your own culture, I feel like yeah, like GenConnect is always a way, but like Prashant said, like find a park. Go find any park.
Take some cha, take some cups, you'll become friends with
Cha is their best friend. No matter what event we host, cha kate. Like it's definitely a way to get straight to their heart. I feel like for a lot of seniors, like how they cope with their mental health is literally through God. The only reason why they've been living such a long, beautiful life is because that they found that coping method of doing pot. And that's like what, like, they kind of like tell us, like, they're like, if you feel stressed, it's okay. Like, God has a plan for you. God will support you. You might feel like the world is ending right now, but you are still going to continue tomorrow, because God is always looking over you. So they kind of like restore that faith they have of God into us. I feel like there's no such thing as stranger, because we all at the end of the day come from like the same like world. Like, we're not separate, we're not going through different worlds, right? We might be immigrating from different locations, we might be living in different locations, but it does not change the fact that we're all human.